A Hero's Dust by Lucretia Maria Davidson. And does a hero's dust lie here? Columbia, gaze and drop a tear. His country's and the orphan's friend, see thousands o'er his ashes bent. Among the heroes of the age, he was the warrior and the sage. He left a train of glory bright, which never will be hid denied. The toils of war and danger past, he reaps a rich reward at last. His pure soul mounts on cherub's wings, and now with saints and angels sings. The brightest on the list of fame, in golden letters shines his name. The trump shall sound it through the world, and the stripped banner ne'er be furled. In every sex and every age, from lisping boy to learned sage, the widow and her orphan son bear the name of Washington. A song in imitation of a Scotch by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Why is it that a cameth step living sae swift, as bonnet is far frae his flaxen hair lift? As Dargeen roads gladsome, if a breeze floats his plate, and surely he bringeth the news that is said. I say, bonny stranger, whence camest thou now? Tiny drop trickles frae off thy dark brow. I come, said the stranger, to spear my lord hame, and see if my Marion still were the same. I had been to the battle where thousands have bled, and chieftains were proud to have a mean pageant laid. I have fought for my country, for freedom and fame, now I'm returning thee speed to my hame. Good spirit of light, 'twas a voice caught his ear, and is it me I Norman's accents to hear? As fierce serpent that left me my child, or am I vir sae anxiety wild? He turned to behold. 'Tis his mother he sees, he flies to embrace her, he falls on his knees. Where's father? A tear trickled down, and silently moistened the warrior's cheek brown. Schmart sings as sae my breast, to sure he frae all the world's trouble of rest. But where's my Marion? His pale cheek turned red, and the glistening tear in his eye was soon dried. She lives, and he knew 'twas his Marion's sweet town. She lives, exclaims Marion, for Norman alone. He saw her. The rose had fled far from her cheek, but Norman still lives, his Marion has found, but the adamant chains of Blethuman they are bound. A View of Death by Lucretia Maria Davidson. When bending o'er the brink of life, my trembling soul shall stand, waiting to pass death's awful flood, great God, at thy command. When weeping friends surround my bed, to close my sightless eyes, when shattered by the weight of years this broken body lies. When every long-loved scene of life stands ready to depart, when the last sigh which shakes this frame shall rend this bursting heart. O thou great source of joy supreme, whose arm alone can save, dispel the darkness that surrounds the entrance to the grave. Lay thy supporting, gentle hand beneath my sinking head, and with a ray of love divine illume my dying bed. Leaning on thy dear, faithful breast, I would resign my breath, and in thy loved embraces lose the bitterness of death. Alonzo and Imanal by Lucretia Maria Davidson. As he spoke, he beheld on the sea-beaten strand a form, 'twas so airy, so light, he could always have sworn by the faith of his land that an angel was wandering mid rocks and through sand, 'neath moonbeams so fitfully bright. He paused, as the bittern screamed loud o'er his head. One moment he paused on the shore, to mark the wild wave as it dashed from its bed, tossing high the white spray from its foam-spangled head with a fitful and deafening roar. He called the wild notes of a song on the wind, ere the Tempest God bore them away, and they told of a tortured and desperate mind, to despair's dark shadows forever resigned, of a heart once hope-lighted and gay. The bright moon was hid in the breast of a storm, and darkness and terror drew round, yet still he could mark her light, fanciful form, as she roamed round the wild rocks, devoid of alarm, while the fiend of a whirlwind frowned. "Oh, tell me," he cried, "what spirit so light, so beautiful e'en in despair, is wandering alone mid the storm of a night, when to guide her no star in the heaven is bright, no gleam save the lightning's red glare?" "'Tis young Emmanuel," answered his guide with a sigh, "the rich, the beloved, and the gay, who's doomed from her friends and her country to fly, for she loved, and she wedded Alonzo, the spy, who has left her and fled far away. Alonzo the spy, and he darted away with the speed of a shooting star, nor heeded the call of his gnat to stay, but toward the poor lone one he bounded away. She had fled to the sea-beach afar. One glance of a forked lightning's glare played bright round the fair one's face, and it beamed on Alonzo for he was ware, and it beamed on his bride, on his Emmanuel dear, clasped at length in his joyful embrace. An Acrostic by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Lo, yonder rides the Empress of a night, and veiled she casts around a silver light. Cease not, fair orb, by slow majestic march, resume again thy seat in yon blue ark. E now is weary of a tedious way, thy head on ocean's bosom thou dost lay. In his blue waves thou hidst thy shining face, and gloomy darkness takes its vacant place. Darting his rays the sun o'er glorious rides, and from his path fell darkness quick divides. Vapour dissolves, and shrinks at his approach, it dares not on his blazing path encroach. Down drops the floret, and his burning ray scorches the workman o'er the new mown hay. O lamp of heaven, pursue thy glorious course, nor till great twilight aught abate thy force. An address to my Muse by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Why, gentle Muse, wilt thou disdain to lend thy strains to me? Why do I supplicate in vain, and bow my heart to thee? Oh, teach me how to touch the lyre, to tune the trembling chord. Teach me to fill each heart with fire, and melting strains afford. Sweep but thy hand across the string, the woodlands echo round, and mortals wondering as you sing, delighted catch each sound. Enchanted when thy voice I hear, I drop each earthly care, I feel as wafted from the world to fancied realms of air. Then as I wander, plaintive sing, and teach me every strain, teach me to touch the trembling string, which now I strike in vain. Auction Extraordinary by Lucretia Maria Davidson. I dreamed a dream in the midst of my slumbers, and as fast as I dreamed it, it came into numbers. My thoughts ran along in such beautiful metre, I'm sure I ne'er saw any poetry sweeter. It seemed that a law had been recently made that a tax on old bachelors' pates should be laid, and in order to make them all willing to marry, the tax was as large as a man could well carry. The bachelors grumbled and said 'twas no use, 'twas horrid injustice and horrid abuse, and declared that, to save their own heart's blood from spilling, of such a vile tax they would not pay a shilling. But the rulers determined them still to pursue, so they set the old bachelors up at vendue. A crier was sent through the town to and fro, to rattle his bell and his trumpet to blow, and to call out to all he might meet in his way, how 40 old bachelors sold here to-day. And presently all the old maids in the town, each in her very best bonnet and gown, from 30 to 60, fair, plain, red and pale, of every description, all flocked to the sale. The auctioneer then in his labour began, and called out aloud as he held up a man, "How much for a bachelor who wants to buy?" In a twink every maiden responded, "Aye, aye." In short, at a highly extravagant price, the bachelors all were sold off in a trice, and 40 old maidens, some younger, some older, each lugged an old bachelor home on her shoulder. Byron by Lucretia Maria Davidson. His faults were great, his virtues less, his mind a burning lamp of heaven. His talents were bestowed to bless, but were as vainly lost as given. His was a harp of heavenly sound, the numbers wild, and bold and clear. But some demon, hovering round, tuned its sweet chords to sin and fear. His was a mind of giant mould, which grasped at all beneath the skies, and his a heart so icy cold, that virtue in its recess dies. Charity by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Through I were gifted with an angel's tongue, and voice like that with which the prophet sung, yet if my charity were not within, to all an impious mockery and sin. Why the gift of prophecy possessed, and faith like that which Abraham professed, may all the like a tinkling cymbal sound, if meek-eyed charity did not abound. For I to feed the poor my goods bestow, and to the flames my body I should throw, yet the vain act would never cover sin, if heaven-born charity were not within. Contemplation of the Heavens by Lucretia Maria Davidson. To count the glittering millions of the sky, to marshal them in bright array before us, to mark the brilliant traces of the Creator's presence, the footprints of the Deity, is a hallowed and sublime employment of a soul. For being insensible led onward from gazing upon the portals of heaven, the wonderful threshold of God's wide pavilion, it dares to lift itself in pure and unearthly communion with the Holy Spirit that inhabits there, and to bow in adoration and praise before the great I Am. To a feeling mind, the heavens unroll a vast volume, filled with subjects of wonder, love, and praise, wonder at the inconceivable majesty and goodness of a great Creator of so vast, so splendid a system, love for his condescension in deigning to bend his attention to so insignificant a creature as man, even in the meridian of his earthly glory, and praise for his unchanging benevolence, infinite wisdom, and perfection. What hand but that of a god could have formed the wide solar system above us? What voice but that of him who created them could bid the starry millions move on for thousands of ages in one unbroken and unceasing march? The lights of heaven are bright and beautiful. Still they are but feeble beams from the everlasting fountain of splendor, or wandering sparks of heaven's dazzling glory. Well indeed might Zoroaster, in the enthusiasm of his heart, worship the fires of heaven as parts of that ineffable and never-dying spirit which animates and lives in all through all eternity. In the dark ages of superstition and bigotry, was it strange that he should turn in disgust from the sacrifices of blood, from horrid images, the disgraceful productions of weak, bewildered minds, to a fount of pure, unchanging, living light, to the brilliant fires above them, holding their unbroken paths through heaven, pointing to God's throne, and whispering in the heart of something still more bright, more beautiful and holy. Cupid's Bower by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Am I in fairyland? Or tell me, pray, to what love-lighted bower I found my way? Sure luckless whiff was never more beguiled in woodland maze or closely tangled wild. And is this Cupid's realm? If so, goodbye. Cupid and Cupid's votaries I fly. No offering to his altar do I bring, no bleeding heart or human ring. What though he proudly marshals his array of conquered hearts, still bleeding in his way, of sighs, of kisses sweet, of glances sly, playing around some darkly beauteous eye? What though the rose of beauty, opening wide, blooms but for him, and fences lordly pride? What though his garden boasts the fairest flower, that ever dewdrop kissed or pearly shower? Still, Cupid, I am no votary to thee, but talk of light will never blaze for me. I ask no glance of thine, I ask no sigh, I brave thy fury, and thus boldly fly. Adieu then, and for evermore adieu, ye poor entangled ones, farewell to you. And all ye powers, a hapless mortal praise for guidance through this labyrinthine maze. David and Jonathan by Lucretia Maria Davidson. On the brow of Gilboa is war's bloody stain, the pride and the beauty of Israel is slain. Or publish it not in proud Ascalion's street, nor tell it in Geth, lest in triumph they meet. For how are the mighty fallen? On Mount of Gilboa, no dew shalt thou see, save the blood of a Philistine fall upon thee. Of a strong peoned eagle of Israel is dead, thy brow is his pillow, thy bosom his bed. Ah, how are the mighty fallen? Weep, daughters of Israel, weep o'er his grave. What breast will no pity, what arm will no save? O my brother, this heart bleeds for we, for thou wert a friend and a brother to me. Ah, how are the mighty fallen? Death by Lucretia Maria Davidson. The destroyer cometh, his footstep is light, he marketh the threshold of sorrow at night. He steals like a thief o'er the fond one's repose, and chills the warm tide from the heart as it flows. His throne is the tomb, and the pestilent breath walks forth on the night wind, the herald of death. His couch is the briar, and the dark weeds of woe are the curtains which shroud joy's deadliest foe. Exit from Egyptian Bondage by Lucretia Maria Davidson. When Israel's sons from cruel bondage freed, fled to the land by righteous heaven decreed, and sighting Pharaoh's quick pursued their train into the borders of a troubled main. Affrighted Israel stood alone dismayed, the foe behind, the sea before them laid. Around the hosts of bloody Pharaoh followed, and wave o'er wave the raging Red Sea rolled. But God, who saved his chosen ones from harm, stretched to their aid his protecting arm. And lo, on either side the sea divides, and Israel's army in his bosom hides. Safe to the shore, the watery walls they march, and once more hail King Heaven's aerial ark. Far, far behind, the cruel foe is seen, and the dark waters roll the march between. The god of vengeance stretched his arm again, and heaving back recoiled the foaming main. An impious Pharaoh, 'neath a raging wave, with all his army finds a watery grave. Rejoice, O Israel, God is on your side, he's your champion and your faithful guide. By day a cloud is to your footsteps given, by night a fiery column towers to heaven. When Israel's children marched by day and night, did Sinai's mountain rose up their side. Where right as heaven the flying army stayed, and Israel's sons the high command obeyed. To Sinai's mount the trembling people came, 'twas wrapped in threatening clouds, in smoke and flame. A silent awe pervaded all the when, not e'en a murmur through the army ran. High Sinai shook, red thunders rent the air, and horrid lightnings round its summit glare. 'Twas God's pavilion, and the blackening clouds, their covering hour, its dazzling glory shows. To heaven's dread court the intrepid leader came, to receive its mandate in the people's name. Loud trumpets peal, the awful thunders roll, transfixing terrors in each guilty soul. But lo, he comes, arrayed in shining light, and round his forehead plays a halo bright. Heaven's high commands with trembling were received, heaven's high commands were heard and were believed. Farewell to Miss E.B. by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Farewell, and whenever calm solitude's hour shall silently spread its broad wings o'er your bower, oh, then gaze on yon planet, yon watchfire divine, and believe that my soul is there mingling with thine. Then the dark brow of evening is beaming with stars, and yon crest of light clouds as the turban she wears, when she walks forth in grandeur, the queen of the night, oh, then think that my spirit looks on with delight. O'er the ocean of life our frail vessels are bounding, and danger and death our dark pathways surrounding. Destruction's bright meteors are dancing before, and behind us the winds of adversity roar. Oh, then come, let us light friendship's lamp on the wave. If you're lost, it will shed its pure light o'er the grave, or it will guide to the haven of heaven at last, and beam on when the voice of a trumpet hath passed. Feats of Death by Lucretia Maria Davidson. I have passed over the earth in the darkness of night. I have walked the wild winds in the morning's broad light. I have paused over the bower where the infant lay sleeping, and have left the fond mother in sorrow and weeping. My pinion was spread, and the cold dew of night, which withers and moulders the flower in its light, fell silently over the warm cheek in its glow, and I left it there blift and wasted and low. I culled the fair bud as it danced in its mirth, and I left it to moulder and fade on the earth. I paused over the valley, the glad sounds of joy rose soft through the mist, and I scanned it on high. The fairest were there, and I paused in my flight, and the deep cry of wailing broke wildly that night. I stay not to gather the lone one to earth, I spare not the young in their gay dance of mirth, but I sweep them all on to their home in the grave. I stop not to pity, I stay not to save. I paused in my pathway, for beauty was there. It was beauty too deathlike, too cold, and too fair. The deep purple fountains seemed melting away, and the faint pulse of life scarce remembered to play. She had fought on the tomb, she was waiting for me. I gazed, I passed on, and her spirit was free. The clear stream rolled gladly and bounded along, with ripple, murmur, and sparkle and song. The minstrel was tuning his wild harp to love, and sweet and half sad were the numbers he wove. I passed, and the harp of a bard was unstrung. Our stream which rolled deeply, 'twas recklessly hung. The minstrel was not, and I passed on alone, over newly raised turf and the rudely carved stone. Habakkuk by Lucretia Maria Davidson. When Cushan was mourning in solitude drear, and the curtains of Midian trembled with fear, on the wings of salvation thy chariot did fly, or did stride the white whirlwind, and come from on high. Earth shook, and before thee the mountains did bow. The voice of the deep thundered loud from below. The arrows glanced bright as they shot through the air, and far gleamed the light of a glittering spear. The bright orb of day paused in wonder on high, and the lamp of the night stood still in the sky. Habakkuk by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Habakkuk, for bane to pleasure's fairy spell, of yent, o foe to joy, I know thee well. Beneath thy lash I've lived for many an hour. I hate thee, for I've known and dread thy power. Even the heathen gods were made to feel the aching torments which thy hand can deal. And Jove, the ideal king of heaven and earth, owned thy dread power, which called stern wisdom forth. Wouldst thou thus ever bless each aching head, and bid Minerva make the brain her bed? Blessings might then be taught to rise from woe, and wisdom spring from every throbbing brow. But always the reversed to me unkind, folly forever dogs thee close behind, and from this burning brow her cap and bell forever jingle wisdom's funeral knell. Kindar burial service versified by Lucretia Maria Davidson. We commend our brother to thee, O earth, to thee he returns, from thee was his birth, of thee was he formed, he was nourished by thee. Take the body, O earth, the spirit is free. O air, he once breathed thee, through thee he survived, and in thee and with thee his pure spirit lived. That spirit hath fled, and we yield him to thee, his ashes he spread, like his soul far and free. Of fire we commit his dear relicts to thee, the emblem of purity, spotless and free. May his soul, like the flames, bright and burning arise to its mansion of bliss in the star-spangled skies. O water, receive him, without their kind aid, he had parched 'neath the sunbeams or mourned in the shade. Then take off his body the share which is wine, for the spirit hath fled from its mouldering shrine. Life is but a troubled ocean by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Life is but a troubled ocean. How beneath you laugh a flower which blossoms in the morning beam and withers with the evening hour. Ambition is a dizzy height, and glory but a lightning gleam. Fame's a bubble, dazzling bright, which fairest shines in fortune's beam. When clouds and darkness veil the skies, and sour's blast blows loud and chill, friendship shall like a rainbow rise, and softly whisper, "Peace, be still." Lines addressed to a cousin by Lucretia Maria Davidson. She gave me a floret, and oh, it was sweet. It was a pea in full bloom, with its dark crimson leaf. And I said in my heart, this should be thy retreat. 'Tis one sacred to friendship, a stranger to grief. In my bosom I placed it. 'Tis withered and gone. All its freshness, its beauty, its fragrance had fled, and in sorrow I sighed. Am I thus left alone? Is the gift which I cherished quite faded and dead? It has withered, but she who presented it blooms still fresh and unfading in memory here. And through life shall here flourish, mid dangers and glooms, as sweet as the flower, though more lasting and fair. Lines written under the promise of reward by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Whene'er the Muse pleases to grace my dull page at the sight of reward, she flies off in a rage, prayers, threats, and the entreaties I frequently try, but she leaves me to scribble, to fret, and to sigh. She torments me each moment, bids me go right, and when I obey her, she laughs at the sight. The rhyme will not jingle, the verse has no sense, and against all her insults I have no defense. I advise all my friends who wish me to write, to keep their rewards and the praises from sight, so the jealous Miss Muse won't be wounded in pride, nor Pegasus rear till I've taken my right. Modesty by Lucretia Maria Davidson. There's a sweet, though humble flower, which grows in nature's wildest bed. It blossoms in the lonely bower, but withers 'neath the gazer's street. 'Tis reared alone, far, far away from the wild noxious weeds of death. Around its brow the sunbeams play, the evening dewdrops is its wreath. 'Tis Modesty, 'tis nature's child, the loveliest, sweetest, meekest flower that ever blossomed in the wild, or trembled 'neath the evening shower. 'Tis Modesty, so pure, so fair, that woman's witcheries lovelier grow, and that sweet flower is blooming there, the brightest beauty of her brow. Morning by Lucretia Maria Davidson. I come in the breath of a wakened breeze, I kiss the flowers and I bend the trees, and I shake the dew which hath fallen by night from its fawn on the lily's pure bosom of white. Awake we, then bright from my couch in the sky, I beam o'er the mountains and come from on high. And my gay purple banners are waving afar, and my herald grey dawn hath extinguished each star. When I smile on the woodlands and bend o'er the lake, then awake we, O maiden, I bid thee awake. Thou mayst slumber when all the white arches of heaven glitter bright with the beautiful fire of even. When the moon walks in glory and looks from on high, over clouds floating far through the clear azure sky, drifting on like the beautiful vessels of heaven to their faraway harbor all silently driven, bearing on in their bosoms the children of light, who have fled from this dark world of sorrow and night. When the lake lies in calmness and darkness, safe there the bright ripple curls, neath the smile of a star, when all is in silence and solitude here, when sleep, maiden, sleep, without sorrow or fear. But when I steal silently over the lake, awake we when, maiden, awake, oh, awake. My last farewell to my harp, by Lucretia Maria Davidson. And must we part? Yes, part forever? I'll waken we again, now never. Silence shall chain thee cold and drear, and thou shalt calmly slumber here. Unhallowed was the eye that gazed upon the lamp which brightly blazed, the lamp which never can expire, the undying, wild, poetic fire. And oh, unhallowed was the tongue which boldly and uncourtly sung. I bless thee, oh, when oh my soul thy magic numbers gently stole, and oh, I through those heavenly strains, which since have bound my heart in chains. Was wild, was witching number still, will oh my withered bosom steal. I bless that hour, but oh, my heart, thou the lyre must part. Yes, part, and this shall be my last farewell, with my sad bosom's latest knell. And here, my harp, we part forever. I'll waken thee again, oh never. Silence shall chain thee cold and drear, and thou shalt calmly slumber here. Oh, that the eagle's wing were mine, by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Oh, that the eagle's wing were mine, I'd soar above the dreary earth, I'd spread my wings, and rise to join the immortal fountain of my birth. For what is joy? How soon it fades! The childish vision of an hour, O warm and brilliant are its shades, 'tis but a frail and fading flower. And what is hope? It is a light which leads us on deluding ever, till lost mid the shades of night we sink, and then it flies forever. And what is love? It is a dream, a brilliant fable framed by youth, a bubble dancing on life's stream and sinking 'neath the eye of truth. And what of honor, glory, fame? But death's dark watchwords to the grave? The victim dies, and lo, his name is lost in life's swift rolling wave. And what are all the joys of life but vanity and toil and woe? What but a bitter cup of grief, with dregs of sin and death below? This world is but the fierce dark gate, unfolded to the waking soul, but death, unerring, led by fate, shall heaven's bright portals backward roll. Then shall this unchained spirit fly on to the God who gave it life, rejoicing as it soars on high, released from danger, doubt, and strife. Where will it pour its anthems forth, bending before its Maker's throne? The great I Am, who gave it birth, the Almighty God, the dread Unknown. Ode to Fancy, by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Fancy, sweet and true in spirit, steals on wings as feathers light, draws a veil o'er reason's eye, and bids the guardian senses fly. Soft she whispers to the mind, come and trouble leave behind. She banishes the fear and despair, and shuts the eyes of waking care. Then our precipice dark, where never reached the wing of lark, fearing no harm, she dauntless flies, where rocks on rocks glad frowning rise. When autumn shakes his hoary head, and scatters leaves at every tread, Fancy stands with listening ear, nor starts when shrieks affrighted bear. There's music in the rattling leaf, but 'tis not for the ear of grief. There's music in the wind's hoarse moan, but 'tis for Fancy's ear alone. On an Aelion Harp, by Lucretia Maria Davidson. What heavenly music strikes my ravished ear, so soft, so melancholy, and so clear? And do the tuneful nine then touch the lyre, to fill each bosom with poetic fire? Or does some angel strike the sounding strings, catching from echo the wild note he sings? But hark, another strain, how sweet, how wild, nor rising high, nor sinking low and mild. And tell me now, ye spirits of the wind, oh, tell me where those artless notes to find, so softly now, so loud, so sweet, so clear, that even angels might delighted hear. But hark, those notes again majestic rise, as though some spirit, banished from the skies, had hither fled to charm Aelion's wild, and teach him other music sweet and mild. Then hither fly, sweet mourner of the air, then hither fly, and to my harp repair. At twilight chant the melancholy lay, and charm the sorrows of thy soul away. On reading a fragment called The Flower of a Forest, by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Sing on, sweetest songster in the woodland can boast, sing on, for it charms, for it sours my breast. The strains, though so mournful, shall never be lost, till this throbbing bosom has murmured to rest. The sweet flower of a forest on memory's page shall bloom undecaying while life lingers near, unheard by the storms which around it shall rage, by sorrow's sigh fent, and bedewed by a tear. On seeing a young lady at her devotions by Lucretia Maria Davidson. She knelt, and her dark blue eye was raised. A sacred fire in its bright beam blazed, and it spread o'er her cold, pale cheek a light so pure and so sacred, so clear and so bright, that Parian marble, for glittering fair 'neath the moon's pale beam or the sun's broad glare, were far less sweet, or more dazzlingly bright, than that cold cheek arrayed in its halloo of light. I love not the dark rosy hue of the sky, when the bright blush of morn mantles deeply and high, but my fond soul adores the pure offer of light, the more when she looks on the broad brow of night, on myriads of stars glittering far through the sky, like the bright eyes of saints looking down from on high, from the garden of paradise blooming in heaven, on the scene sleeping sweet 'neath the calm smile of even. I love not the cheek which speaks slumber unbroken, that heart hath ne'er sighed o'er hope's fast fading token, that bosom ne'er throbbed with half fearful delight, when it fought on its home in the regions of light, or trembled and wept as with fancy's dear eye it gazed on the beautiful gates of the sky, and the angels which watch at the portals of light, all peaceful and all sacred, all pure and all bright. But I love that pale cheek as it bends in devotion, like a star sinking down on the breast of the ocean. On the Birth of a Sister by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Sweet babe, I cannot hope thou wilt be freed from woes to all since earliest time decreed, but mayst thou be with resignation blessed, to bear each evil, howsoe'er distressed. May hope her anchor land amid the storm, now the tempest rear her angel form. May sweet benevolence, whose words are peace, to the rude whirlwind softly whisper, cease. And may religion, heaven's own darling child, teach thee at human cares and griefs to smile, teach thee to look beyond this world of woe, to heaven's high fount, whence mercies ever flow. And when this veil of tears is safely past, when death's dark curtain shuts the scene at last, may thy freed spirit leave this earthly sod, and fly to seek the bosom of thy God. On the Death of an Infant by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Sweet child, now hast thou gone, forever fled? Low lies thy body in its grassy bed, but thy freed soul swift bends its flight through air, the heavenly Father's gracious love to share. And now methinks I see thee clothed in white, mingling with saints, like thee, celestial bride. Look down, sweet angel, on thy friends below, and mark their trickling tears of silent woe. Look down with pity in thy infant eye, and view the friends thou left, for friends on high. Methinks I see thee leaning from above, to whisper to those friends of peace and love. Weep not for me, for I am happy still, murmur not at our great Father's will. Let not this below your trust in Jesus shake, our Saviour gave, and it is his to take. Once he looked forward to life's opening day, the scene was bright and pleasant seemed the way. Hope drew the picture, fancy, ever near, coloured it bright, despotted with a tear. Then let the tear be resignation's child, yielding to heaven's high will, be calm, be mild. Weep for your child no more, she's happy still, and murmur not at your great Father's will. On the Death of Queen Caroline by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Star of England, Brunswick's pride, thou hast suffered, dropped, and died. Adversity, with piercing eye, bade all her arrows around thee fly. She marked thee from thy cradle bed, and plaited thorns around thy head. As the moon, whom sable clouds no brightly shows, no darkly shrouds, so envy, with the serpent's eye, and slender's tongue of blackest dye, on thy pure name aspersions cast, and triumphed o'er thy fame at last. But each dark tale of guilt and shame shall darker fly to whence it came. A stranger in a foreign land, oppressed beneath a tyrant's hand, she drank the bitter cup of woe, and read fate's blackening volume through. The last, the bitterest drop was drunk, the volume closed, all was blank. On the Death of a Beautiful Missus by Lucretia Maria Davidson. I saw her when life's tide was high, when youth was hovering o'er her brow, when joy was dancing in her eye, and her cheek blushed hope's crimson glow. I saw her mid a fairy throng, She seemed the gayest of the gay. I saw her lightly glide along, 'neath beauty's smile and pleasure's lay. I saw her in her bridal robe, the blush of joy was mounting high. I marked her bosom's heaving throb, I marked her dark and downcast eye. I saw her when a mother's love asked at her hand a mother's care. She looked an angel from above, hovering round a cherub fair. I saw her not till, cold and pale, she slumbered on death's icy arm. The rose had faded on her cheek, her lip had lost its power to charm. The eye was dim, which brightly shone, that brow was cold, that heart was still. The witcheries of the form had flown, the lifeless clay had ceased to feel. I saw her wedded to the grave, her bridal robes the weeds of death, and o'er her pale, cold brow was hung the damp sepulchral icy wreath. On the Execution of Mary Queen of Scots, by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Touched on the heart, for Sorrow's voice will mingle in the chorus wild. When Scotland weeps, canst thou rejoice? No, rather mourn her murdered child. Sing how on Calvary's mount of blood, mid foes exulting in her doom, the captive Mary fearless stood, a helpless victim for the tomb. Justice and mercy, frighted, fled, and shrouded was hope's beacon blaze, and like a lamb to slaughter led. Poor Mary met her murderous gaze, calm was her eye as yon dark lake, and changed her once angelic form. Nor sigh was heard, the pause to break. 'Tis done, and Mary's soul has flown beyond the scene of blood and death. 'Tis done, the lovely saint is gone to claim in heaven the fauntless wreath. But as Elijah, when his car wheeled on towards heaven its path of light, dropped on his friends, he left afar his mantle like a meteor bright. So Mary, when her spirit flew far from this world, so sad, so very, a crown of fame immortal threw around the brow of Calvary. On the motto of a seal, by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Wafted o'er a treacherous sea, far from home and far from thee, between the heaven and the ocean tossed, if I lose thee I am lost. When the polar stars beaming, o'er the dark broad billows gleaming, I think of thee and dangers crossed, for if I lose thee I am lost. When the lighthouse fire is blazing, high towards heaven its red crest raising, I think of thee, while onward tossed, for if I lose thee I am lost. Pleasure, by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Away, unstable fleeting pleasure, for troublesome and gilded treasure. When the false jewel changes hue, there's naught, or man that's left for you. What many grasp at with such joy is but her shade, a foolish toy. She's not found at every court, at every ball and every sport, but in that heart she loves to rest, that's with her guiltless conscience blessed. Prophecy 2, by Lucretia Maria Davidson. I have told a maiden of hours of grief, of a bleeding heart, of a joyless life. I have read her a tale of future woe. I have marked her pathway of sorrow below. I have read on the page of her blooming cheek a darker doom than my tongue dare speak. Now, maiden, for me, I will turn mine eye to a brighter path through futurity. The cloud shall pass from thy brow away, and bright be the closing of life's long day. The storm shall murmur in silence to sleep, and angels around thee their watches shall keep. Thou shalt live in the sunbeams of love and delight, and thy life shall flow on till it fades into night. And the twilight of age shall come quietly on. Thou wilt feel, yet regret not that daylight half flown, for the shadows of evening shall melt o'er thy face, and the soft dreams of heaven around thee shall roll, till sinking in sweet, dreamless slumber to rest, in the arms of her loved one, still blessing and blessed, the soul shall glide on to its harbour in heaven, every tear wiped away, every error forgiven. Prophecy 3, by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Wilt thou rashly unveil the dark volume of fate? It is open before thee, repentance is late, too late. For, behold, o'er the dark page of woe move the days of her grief, yet unnumbered below. There's one whose sad destiny mingles with thine. He was formed to be happy, he dared to repine, and jealousy mixed in his bright cup of bliss, and the page of his fate grew still darker than this. He gazed on thee, maiden, he met thee, and passed. But better for thee had the sea rocks fell blast, swept by thee, and wasted and faded thee there, so youthful, so happy, so faultless, so fair. And mark ye his broad brow, 'tis noble, 'tis high, and mark ye the flash of his dark eagle eye, when the wide wheels of time have encircled the world, and the banners of night in the sky are unfurled. Then, maiden, remember the tale I have told, for further I dare not unfold. The rose on yon dark pages see and decayed, and thus e'en in youth shall thy fondest hopes fade. 'Tis an emblem of thee, broken, withered, and pale. Nay, start not and blanch not, for dark be the tale. An hourglass half spent and a tear-bedewed token, a heart withered, wasted, and bleeding and broken, all these are the emblems of sorrow to be. I will veil the page, maiden, in pity to thee. Reflections on Crossing Lake Champlain in the Steamship Phoenix by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Islet on the lake's calm bosom, in thy breast rich treasures lie. Heroes, where your bones shall moulder, but your fame shall never die. Islet on the lake's calm bosom, sleep serenely in thy bed. Brightest gem our waves can boast, guardian angel of the dead. Calm upon the waves recline till great nature's reign is o'er, until old and swift-winged time sinks and order is no more. Then thy guardianship shall cease, then shall rock thy aged bed, and when heaven's last trump shall sound, thou shalt yield thy noble dead. Remarks on the Immortality of a Stage by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Why is it that the ear of modesty must be shocked by the indelicacy and immortality which obstinately clinges to the stage, that vehicle of good or evil, that splendid engine whose movements may shed a halo of brilliancy around it, or leave behind the blackened traces of its desolating progress? Can the eye of innocence gaze even upon the mimic characters of vice, or the ear of delicacy become familiarized to the rude and boisterous of a more dangerously subtle insinuation of depravity, without quitting the fascination scene less fastidious in its feelings, less sensible to the bold intrusions of barefaced wickedness? No. Though the change be slow and almost imperceptible, still it will not be the less certain. The fatal poison will creep to the very vitals of virtue, and stamp deep stains upon the spotless tablet of innocence. Must, then, all that is bright and pure be shut out from those scenes of fascination and delight? Must that very purity which should be cherished and guarded as a sacred deposit be converted into a chain wherewith to shackle the amusements of its possessor? Would not the frequent indulgence of this amusement be holding forth a strong temptation to those who are but partially fortified in the principles destitute to overleap the crumbling ill-formed barrier and plunge at once into the boundless ocean of vice and immortality? Or why will not authors, those helmsmen in the mighty vessel of improvement, dash the countless stains from the charts which they are holding to our eyes, and transform the blackened pages to pure, spotless records of truth and virtue? When we should no longer mark the blush of offended modesty mantling the cheek of sensibility, or the frown of disapprobation clouding the pure brow of refinement and mortality. The stage would then become the guardian and the friend, instead of the fell destroyer of all that is pure and virtuous in the human breast. Rob Roth's reply to Francis Osbaldistone by Lucretia Maria Davidson. The heather I trod while breathing on earth must bloom o'er my grave and the land of my birth. My warm heart would shrink like the fern in the frost, if the tops of my hills to my dim eyes were lost. Ruins of Palmyra by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Palmyra, where art thou, all dreary and lone? The breath of thy fame, like the night wind, hath flown o'er thy temples, the minarets, towers, and halls. The dark veil of oblivion silently falls. The sands of the desert sweep by thee in pride, recoil round thy brow like the foam of a tide. And soon, like the mountain streams, the wild rolling wave will rush o'er, and wrap thee at once in thy grave. Oh, where are the footsteps which once gaily flew, or pavements where now weep the foxglove and yew? Oh, where are the voices which once gaily sung, while the lofty brown domes with melody rung? They are silent, and naught breaks the chaos of death. Not a being now treats of the ivy-dull wrath, save a raging hyena, whose terrible cry echoes loud through the halls and the palaces high. Thou art fallen, Palmyra, and never to rise, thou queen of the east, thou bright child of skies. Thou art lonely, the desert around thee is wide, then haste to its arms, nor remember thy pride. Thou art forgotten, Palmyra, return thee to earth, and great be thy fall, as was stately their birth. Ruth grandeur than bow 'neath the pinion of time, and sink not in splendor, but sadly sublime. Ruth's answer to Naomi by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Entreat me not, I must not hear, mark but this sore beaming tear. The answer's written deeply now on this warm cheek and clouded brow. 'Tis gleaming o'er this eye of sadness, which only near thee sparkles gladness. The hearts most dear to us are gone, and thou and I are left alone. Ere thou wanderest, I will go, I'll follow thee through joy or woe. Shouldst thou to other countries fly, where'er thou lodged, where will I? Thy people shall my people be, and to thy God I'll bend the knee. Whither thou fliest, will I fly, and where thou diest, I will die. And the same sod which pillars thee shall freshly, sweetly bloom for me. Sabrina, a volcanic island which appeared and disappeared among the Azores in 1711. By Lucretia Maria Davidson. Isle of the ocean, say, whence comest thou? The smoke thy dark throne and blaze around thy brow. The voice of the earthquake proclaims thee abroad, and the deep at thy coming roars darkly and loud. From the breast of the ocean, the bed of a wave, who hast burst into being, hast sprung from the grave. A stranger, wild, gloomy, yet terribly bright, what clothed with darkness, yet crowned with light. Thou comest in flames, thou hast risen in fire, the wave is thy pillow, the tempest thy choir. They will lull thee to sleep on the ocean's broad breast, a slumbering volcano, an earthquake at rest. Thou hast looked on the isle, thou hast looked on the wave, then heave thee again to thy deep, watery grave. Go quench thee in ocean, thou dark nameless thing, thou spark from the fallen one's white flaming wing. Sensibility by Lucretia Maria Davidson. In this delicate emotion of the human mind there is a mixture of danger and delight. It may be indulgent moderately, with pleasure to its possessors, but uncontrolled it brings in its train a succession of ideal miseries and sensations of acute pain or exquisite delight. It often causes the heart to shrink with sensitive horror from difficulties in the path of life, slightly noticed, or scarcely perceptible to the mind well governed by reason, or fortified by principle. Lively sensibility may be considered as the keystone of the heart. It often unguardedly unlocks the treasures confided to its care, and pouring forth the full tide of feeling, the warmest impulses of the soul are wasted upon trifles or squandered on objects insignificant to the eye of reason, and frequently exposes the feeling heart to contempt and ridicule. Deep and delighted sensibility, that feeling of a soul which shrinks from observation and pours itself forth in secret calm retirement, must certainly, by its dignity and sacred character, cause feelings of reverence for its possessor. Jesus wept over the grave of his departed friend. His sensibility was aroused, and he shed tears of sorrow over the dark wreck of once noble fabric and the mouldering remnants of mortality before him. His prophetic soul gazed upon the wide scenes of future desolation. He felt for the miseries of mankind. He pitied their folly and wept over the final destruction of the human frame, undermined by sin and borne down by death. Shakespeare by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Shakespeare, with all thy faults, and few have more, I love thee still, and still will con thee o'er. Heaven, in compassion to man's erring heart, gave thee of virtue than a vice apart, lest we, in wonder here, should bow before thee, break God's commandment, worship and adore thee. But admiration know, and sorrow join, his works we reverence, while we pity thine. Song of Victory on the Death of Goliath by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Strike with joy the wild harp's string, God, our Israel, is your King. We have slain our deadliest foe, David's arm hath laid him low. Saul hath oft his thousands slain, his trophies have bedecked the plain, but David's tens of thousands lie in slaughtered millions mounted high. Sound the trumpet, strike the string, loud let the song of victory ring, wreath of glory David's brow, he hath laid Goliath low. Mark him on yon crimson plain, he is conquered, he is slain. He who lately rose so high, scoffed at men, and braved the sky. Strike with joy the wild harp's string, God, our Israel, is your King. We have slain our deadliest foe, David's arm hath laid him low. Stilling the Waves by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Be still, ye waves, for Christ doth deign to treat on the rough bosom of your watery bed. Be not too harsh your gracious law to greet, but, in soft murmurs, kisses how they feed. The sea alone can calm your rage at will, this is his sacred mandate. Peace, be still. Tell me not of joys departed by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Tell me not of joys departed, or of childhood's happy hour, when unconsciously I sported fresh as morning's dewy flower. Tell me not of fair hopes blasted, or of unrequited love. Tell me not of fortune wasted, or the web which fate hath wove. One fond wish I long have cherished, I've twined it round my heart. While all other hopes have perished, I with it could never part. On life's troubled stormy ocean, that bright star still shines serene. To that star my heart's devotion rose at morning and at eve. And the hope that led me onward like a beacon shining bright was, that when this form had moulded, I might wake to realms of light. Wake to bliss that changes never, wake no more to hope or fear, wake to joys that bloom forever, withered by no sigh, no tear. The Army of Israel at the foot of Mount Sinai by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Their spears glittered bright in the beams of the sun, their banners waved far, and the high helmet shone, and their dark plumes were tossed on the breast of the breeze, and the war trumpet slumbered the slumber of peace. He came in his glory, he came in his might, his chariot the cloud, and his sceptre the light. The sound of his coming was heard from afar, like the roar of a nation when rushing to war. 'Twas the great God of Israel, riding on high, whose footstool is earth and whose throne's the sky. He stood in his glory, unseen and alone, and with letters of fire traced the tablets of stone. The eagle may soar to the sun in his might, and the eye of a warrior flash fierce in the fight. But say, who may look upon God the Most High, or Israel turn back from his glory or die? The sun in its splendor, the fire in its might, which devours and withers and wastes from his height, is dim to the glory which beams from his eye. Then Israel turn back, or return, or ye die. The Bachelor by Lucretia Maria Davidson. To the world, whose dread laugh he would tremble to hear, from whose scorn he would shrink with a cowardly fear, the old bachelor proudly and boldly will say, single lives are the longest, single lives are most gay. To the ladies with pride he will always declare, that the links in love's chain are strife, trouble, and care. But the wife is a torment, and he will have none, but at pleasure will roam through the wide world alone. And let him pass on in his sulky of state, or say, who would envy that mortal his fate, to brave all the ills of life's tempest alone, not a heart to respond the warm notes of his own. His joys undivided no longer will please, the warm tide of his heart through inaction will freeze. His sorrows concealed and unanswered his sighs, the old bachelor curses his folly and dies. Pass on, then, proud lone one, pass on to thy fate, thy sentence is sealed, thy repentance too late. Like an arrow which leaves not a trace on the wind, no mark on thy pathway shall linger behind. Not a sweet voice shall murmur its sighs o'er thy tomb, not a fair hand shall teach thy lone pillow to bloom. Not a kind tear shall water my dark, lonely bed. By the living 'twas scorned, 'tis refused to the dead. The Blush by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Why that blush on Elah's cheek? What doth the flitting wanderer seek? Doth passion blackening tempests scowl to agitate my Elah's soul? Return, sweet wanderer, fear no harm. The heart which Allah's breast doth warm is virtue's calm, serene retreat. Ne'er with passion's storm did beat. Return and calmly rest, till love shall thy sweetest sea prove. Then come and thy loved place resume, and fill the cheek with youthful bloom. A blush of nature charms the heart more than the brilliant tints of art. They please a while and please no more, we hate the things we loved before. But now in fading tints were those which to my Allah's cheek arose. They please the raptured heart, and fly before they pall the gazing eye. 'Twas not the blush of guilt or shame which o'er my Elah's features came, 'twas she who fed the poor distressed, 'twas she the indignant had blessed. For her their prayers to heaven were raised, on her the grateful people gazed. 'Twas when the blush suffused her cheek, which told what words can never speak. The Coquette by Lucretia Maria Davidson. I hae nae sleep, I hae nae rest, My Ellen's lost for aye. My heart is sair and much distressed, I surely soon must die. I cannot think or walk at the, my eyes still wander far. I see her neck like driven snow, I see her flaxen hair. Sair I begged, she would not hear, she proudly turned away. Unmoved she saw the trickling tear, which, spite of me, would fare. She acted well a conqueror's part, she triumphed in my woe. She graceful waved me to depart, I tried, but could not go. Oh, why? Distractedly I cried, or yield me to despair? With lingering hope resume her sway, to ease my heart's desire. Adieu, I proudly cried. I fled, nor Ellen had I seen, since that too fatal day. My bosom's laird sits heavy here, and hopes fled far away. Care darkly brooding about the storm, I'm sorest child indeed. She stamps the image on my form, I were the morning weed. The Destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah by Lucretia Maria Davidson. How dread was the night when our Sodom's white plain the fire of heaven descended. For all that when bloomed shall ne'er bloom there again, for man hath his Maker offended. The midnight of terror and woe hath passed by, the deaf spirit's pinions are furled, but the sun, as it beams clear and brilliant on high, hides from Sodom's dark, desolate world. Here lies but that glassy, that death-stricken lake, as in mockery of what had been there. The wild bird flies, far from the dark nestling brake, which waves its scorched arms in the air. In that city the wine-cup was brilliantly flowing, joy held a high festival there. Not a fond bosom dreaming in luxury glowing of a close of that night of despair. For the bride, her handmaid in the garden was reffing, at the altar the bridegroom was waiting, but vengeance impatiently round them was breathing, and death at that shrine was their greeting. But the wine-cup is empty, broken it lies, the lip which it foamed for is cold. For the red wing of death o'er Gomorrah now flies, and Sodom is wrapped in its fold. The bride is wedded, but the bridegroom is deaf, with his cold, dampened, grave-like hand. Her pillow is ashes, the slime-weed her wreath, heaven's flames are her nuptial band. And near to that cold, that desolate sea, whose fruits are to ashes now turned, not a fresh blown flower, not a budding tree, no blooms where those cities were burned. The Evening Spirit by Lucretia Maria Davidson. When the pale moon is shining bright, and naught disturbs the gloom of night, 'tis then upon yon level green, from which St. Clair's dark heights are seen, the evening spirit glides along, and chants a melancholy song, or leans upon a snowy cloud, and its white skirts a figure shroud. By the fire's light she's wafted far, and contemplates the northern star, or gazes from her silvery throne on the pale queen, the silent moon. Who is the evening spirit fair, that hovers o'er the walls, St. Clair? Who is it that with footstep light breathes the calm silence of a night? Ask the lights of fire who conveys the pale figure o'er the waves. Ask yon bright, fleecy cloud of night, ask yon pale planet's silver light. Why does the evening spirit fair sail over walls of dark St. Clair? The Family Timepiece by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Friend of my heart, the monitor of youth, well do I love thee, dearest child of truth. For many a lonely hour thy whisperings low have made sad chorus to the notes of woe. Or mid the happy hour which joyful flew, thou still wert faithful, still unchanged, still true. Or when the task employed my infant mind, oft have I sighed to see thee lag behind, and watched thy finger with a youthful glee, when it had pointed silently, "Be free." Thou wert my mentor through each passing year, but pain or pleasure thou wert ever near. And when the wings of time unnoticed flew, I paused, reflected, wondered, turned to you. Paused in my heedless round to mark thy hand, pointing to conscience like a magic wand. To watch thee stealing on thy silent way, silent, but sure, time's pinions cannot stay. How many hours of pleasure, hours of pain, when smiles the brightening round affliction's train! How many hours of poverty and woe, which taught cold drops of agony to flow! How many hours of war, of blood, of death, which added laurels to the victor's wrath! How many deep-drawn sighs thy hand hath told, and dimmed the smile, and dried the tear which rolled, and the loud cannon spoke the voice of war, and death and bloodshed whirled their crimson car! when the proud banner, waving in the breeze, had welcomed war, and bade adieu to peace, my faithful finger traced the wing of time, pointed to earth, and went to heaven sublime. Unmoved amid the carnage of a world, and thousands to eternity were hurled, my head was reared aloft, truth's chosen child, beaming serenely through the troubled wild. Friend of my youth, where from its mouldering clay my joyful spirit wings to heaven its way, or mayst thou watch beside my aching head, and tell how fast time flits with severed tread. The Fear of Madness by Lucretia Maria Davidson. There's a something which I dread, it is a dark, a fearful thing, it steals along with withering tread, or sweeps on wild destruction's wing. But forth comes o'er me in the hour of grief, of sickness, or of sadness, 'tis not the dread of death, 'tis more, it is the dread of madness. Or may these throbbing pulses pause, forgetful of their feverish course, may this hot brain, which, burning glows with all its fiery whirlpool's force, be cold and motionless and still, a tenant of its lowly bed, but let not dark delirium steal. Unfinished. The Garden of Gethsemane by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Gethsemane, there's holy blood upon thy green and waving brow. Gethsemane, a god hath stood, and o'er thy branches bended low. Where drops of agony have hung, mingled with blood upon his brow. For sin his bosom there was wrung, and there it bled for human woe. There, in the darkest hour of night, alone he watched, alone he prayed. Didst thou not tremble at the sight? O God reveal, a God betrayed. Gethsemane, so dark a scene, never blotted the white book of time. Oblivion's veil can never screen so dark a deed, so black a crime. The Good Shepherd by Lucretia Maria Davidson. The shepherd feeds his fleecy flock with care, and mourns to find one little lamb has strayed. He, unfatigued, roams through the midnight air, o'er hills or rocks and through the mossy glade. But when that lamb is found, what joy is seen depicted on the careful shepherd's face, when, sporting over smooth and level green, he sees his favourite charge is in its place. Thus the great shepherd on his flock doth mourn, and from his fold the wayward lamb has strayed, and thus with mercy he receives him home, and the poor soul his Lord has disobeyed. There's great joy among the saints in heaven, and one repentant soul has found its God. For Christ, the shepherd, hath his ransom given, and sealed it with his own redeeming blood. The Grave by Lucretia Maria Davidson. There's a spot so still and dreary, it is a pillow for the weary. It is so solemn and so lone, that grief forgets to heave a groan. Where life's storms can I enter never, there ties dark and lonely ever. The mourner there shall seek repose, and there the wondrous journey close. The Guardian Angel by Lucretia Maria Davidson. I'm the guardian angel, sweet maid, and I rest in mine own chosen temple, thy innocent breast. At midnight I steal from my sacred retreat, then the chords of thy heart in soft union beat. Then thy bright eye is closed, then thy dark tresses flow in beautiful wreaths o'er thy pillar of snow, or when I watch o'er thee, all pure as thou art, and listen to music which steals from thy heart. Thy smile is the sunshine which gladdens my soul, my tempest the clouds which around me may roll. I feast my light from on thy raptured-breathed sighs, and drink at the fount of those beautiful eyes. The thoughts of thy heart are recorded by me, where some which, half bereft, half acknowledged by thee, steal sweetly and silently o'er thy pure breast, just ruffling its calmness when murmuring to rest. Like a breeze o'er the lake when it breathlessly lies, with its own mimic mountains and star-spangled skies, I stretch my light pinions around me when sleeping, to guard me from spirits of sorrow and weeping. I breathe o'er thy slumber sweet dreams of delight, till you wake up to sigh for the visions of night. When you remember, where'er your pathway may lie, be it clouded with sorrow, brilliant with joy, my spirit shall watch thee wherever thou art, my incense shall rise from the throne of thy heart. Farewell, for the shadows of evening are fled, and the young rays of morning are wreathed round my head. The Holy Writings by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Through the whole of a sacred volume may be traced the finger of a god. It is overshadowed by his arm, and his spirit walks forth in the sublimity of his commandments. What are the mad revellings of a scoffer? They are like burning coals which fall back upon the head of him who hurled them, leaving the object of his rage uninjured. What are the most philosophic works of mankind when placed in comparison with it? they sink into nothing. What are the brilliant shafts of human wit when directed against it? They are as the gilded wing of a butterfly, fluttering feebly against the nervous, irresistible pinion of an eagle. What are all the immense magazines of learning beside it but a boundless heap of chaff? Yes, the vast edifices of human knowledge, reared by the restless hand of ingenuity, and bedecked with all the gaudy trappings of eloquence, crumble into dust and fall prostrate in its presence, as did the heathen idly before the ark of the living God. Do we ask eloquence? Where can it be found more pure than from the mouth of him whose voice of mercy is a murmur, and whose anger speaks in wrathful thunders? Do we ask sublimity? The eagle in its flight toward heaven is less sublime than the hollowed words of its maker. Do we ask simplicity? What is more touchingly so than the language of a sacred volume? Do we ask sweetness or tenderness? The breath of summer is less sweet than the Almighty's offered mercies. The fabled bird which sheds the blood for the nourishment of her innocent offspring is cruel in comparison with him who bled, who died, for those who cursed and tortured him. Do we ask grandeur, wildness, or strength? Look there upon the law of him whose very self is grandeur, whose glance is lightning, and whose arm is strength. The hand of the impious and the envious may hurl the dust of derision upon the sacred volume, still it will shine on, brighter and brighter, while time shall be. The Last Flower of the Garden by Lucretia Maria Davidson. The last flower of a garden was blooming alone, the last rays of the sun on its blushing leaf shone. Still a glittering drop on its bosom reclined, and a few half-blown buds midst its leaves were entwined. Say, lonely one, say, where lingerest thou here, and why on thy bosom reclines the bright tear? 'Tis the tear of a sapphire, for summer 'twas shed, and all thy companions now withered dead. Why lingerest thou here, when around thee are strewn the flowers once so lovely, by autumn's blast blown? Say why, sweetest floweret, the last of thy race, why lingerest thou here in the lone garden to grace? As I spoke, a rough blast, sent by winter's own hand, whistled by me, and bent its sweet head to the sand. I hastened to raise it, the dewdrop had fled, and the once lovely flower was withered and dead. The Mermaid by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Maid of a briny wave and raven lock, whose bed's the seaweed and whose frown's the rock, tell me, what fate compels thee thus to ride over tempestuous ocean's foaming tide? Art thou some Nereid, who, at Neptune's nod, flies to obey the mandate of that god? Art thou the Siren, who, the night draws on, chantest thy farewell to the setting sun? Or, leaning on thy wave-encircling rock, twining with lily hand thy raven lock, dost thou, in accents wild, proclaim the storm which soon shall wrap the unwary sailor's form? Or dost thou round the wild Charybdis play, to warn the seaman from his dangerous way? Or, shrieking midst the tempest, change the dirge of shipwrecked sailors buried in the surge? Tell me, mysterious being, what you are, so wild, so strange, so lonely, yet so fair. Tell me, oh tell me, why you sit alone, and hush the roaring billows on my head. The Mother's Lament for Her Infant by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Cold is his brow, and the dew of the evening hangs damp o'er that form I so fondly caressed. Dim is that eye which once sparkled with gladness, hushed are the griefs of my infant at rest. Calmly he lies on a bosom far colder than that which once pillowed his health-blushing cheek. Calmly he rests there and silently moulder, nor grief to disturb him, nor sigh to awake. Dread King of the grave, oh, return me my child, unfetter his heart from the cold chains of death. Monarch of terrors, so gloomy, so silent, loose the adamant clasp of thy cold, icy wrath. Where is my infant? The storms may descend, the snows of the winter may cover his head, the wing of the wind o'er his low couch may bend, and the frosts of the night sparkle bright o'er the dead. Where is my infant? The damp ground is cold, too cold for those features so laughing and light. Methinks these fond arms should encircle his form, and shield off the tempest which wanders at night. This fond bosom loved him so dearly, and the frail idol fell, while I bent to adore. All its beauty has faded, and broken before me is the God my heart ventured to worship before. 'Tis just, and I bow 'neath the mandate of heaven, Thy will, O my Father, forever be done. Bless God, O my soul, for the chastisement given, henceforth will I worship my Saviour alone. The Origin of Chivalry by Lucretia Maria Davidson. When society first began to form itself, rank and authority became necessary to subdue the wild and impetuous passions which raged unbridled in the savage bosom of man. Oppression and vassalage first appeared in the form of feudal government. Each family looked up to its head, as each kingdom does now to its sovereign. His will was absolute, and his power unbounded in his castle and dominions. In this way the rights of man were partially secured. The vassal was bound to serve and succour his lord in the hour of danger, as it was that lord's only duty to support and protect the serf. But in those rude and barbarous ages, where was weak and helpless woman to find a shelter from the wild and lawless multitude? And what tribunal was there to which she could appeal if injured, when man was contending with man for superiority or right? Where could she fly for redress? Could the feeble voice of woman be heard amid the uproar? No, but it arose, though in murmurs, to the ear of her Maker, and that very evil which menaced her destruction proved a blessing. In the dark ages of the world, woman had not the rank in society which a more enlightened age has allotted her. She was deemed merely the slave of man's tyrannical will, the tool of his pleasure, too weak to defend herself and too insignificant to claim the protection of the lords of creation. As the sun of religion arose upon the world, the dark clouds of contention arose with its light. Arms were the arguments which were unanimously chosen to decide every controversy. The sword was the test of merit, and the hand which wielded it with the greatest dexterity was chosen to direct the community. The youthful soldier, ardent and enthusiastic, was ever in search of some object on which to display his valour. The fair sex at length caught and fixed his attention. Tournaments and feasts of arms were instituted to display his devotion to the cause of beauty and virtue and distress, and love and religion were blended. Love became wildly romantic, religion was enthusiastically venerated. The name of woman was held sacred as that of religion, and both as dear to the heart of every knight-errant as that of the idol honor. They were blended with each other. The passions held the reins in religion, while contemplated with enthusiasm, was too often made to bow before the shrine of love and romance. A Prophecy by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Let me gaze a while on that marble brow, on that full dark eye, on that cheek's warm glow. Let me gaze for a moment, that ere I die, I may read thee, maiden, a prophecy. That brow may beam in glory a while, that cheek may bloom, and that lip may smile, that full dark eye may brightly beam in life's gay morn and hope's young dream. That cloud shall darken that brow of snow, and so blight thy bosom's glow. I know by that spirit so haughty and high, I know by that brightly flashing eye, that, maiden, there's that within thy breast, which hath marked thee out for a soul unblessed. The strife of love with pride shall ring thy youthful bosom's tenderest string, and the cup of sorrow, mingled for thee, shall be drained to the dregs in agony. Yes, maiden, yes, I read in thine eye a dark and a doubtful prophecy. Thou shalt love, and that love shall be thy curse. Thou wilt need no heavier, thou shalt feel no worse. I see the cloud and the tempest near, the voice of the troubled tide I hear, the torrent of sorrow, the sea of grief, the rushing waves of a wretched life. Thy bosom spark on the search I see, and, maiden, thy loved one is there with thee. Not a star in the heavens, not a light on the wave. Maiden, I've gazed in thine early grave. I am cold, and the hand of death hath crowned my brow with an icy wrath. When the dew hangs damp on this motionless lip, when this eye is closed in its long last sleep, then, maiden, pause, and thy heart beats high, and think on my last sad prophecy. The Sick Bed by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Or have you watched beside the bed, where rests the very aching head? And have you heard the long, deep groan, the low sad prayer, and half-bereft tone? Or have you seen the fevered sleep, which speaks of agony within? The eye which would, but cannot weep, and wipe away the stains of sin? Or have you marked the struggling breath, which would, but cannot leave its clay? And have you marked the hand of death, unbind, and bid it haste away? And thou hast seen what thou shalt feel, and thou hast read thy future doom. Or pause one moment, our death seal, there's no repentance in the tomb. The Smile of Innocence by Lucretia Maria Davidson. There is a smile of bitter scorn, which curls the lip, which lights the eye. There is a smile in beauty's morn, just rising o'er the midnight sky. There is a smile of youthful joy, when hope's bright star is the transient guest. There is a smile of blessed age, like sunset on the billow's breast. There is a smile, the maniac smile, which lights the void which reason leaves, and, like the sunshine through a cloud, throws shadows o'er the song she weaves. There is a smile of love, of hope, which shines a meteor through life's gloom. There is a smile, religion's smile, which lights the way to the tomb. There is a smile, an angel's smile, that sainted souls behind them leave. There is a smile that shines through toil, and warms the bosom of in grief. And there's a smile on nature's face, when evening spreads her shades around, a pensive smile when twinkling stars are glimmering through the vast profound. But there's a smile, the sweeter still, this one far dearer to my soul. It is a smile which angels might upon their brightest list enroll. It is the smile of innocence, of sleeping infancy light dream. Like lightning on a summer's eve, it sheds a soft and pensive gleam. It dances round the dimpled cheek, and tells of happiness within. It smiles what it can never speak, a human heart devoid of sin. The Star of Liberty by Lucretia Maria Davidson. There shone a gem on England's crown, bright as yon star. Oppression marked it with a frown. He sent his darkest spirit down, to quench the light that round it shone, blazing afar. But independence met the foe, and laid the swift-winged demon low. A second messenger was sent, dark as the night. On his dire errand swift he went, but Valor's bow was truly bent. Justice her keenest arrow lent, and sped its flight. Then fell the impious wretch, and death approached to take his withering breath. Valor then took the hasty hand, the gem of light. He flew to seek some other land, he flew to escape oppression's hand. He knew there was some other strand more bright, and as he swept the fields of air, he found a country rich and fair. Upon its breast the star he placed, the Star of Liberty. Bright and more bright the meteor blazed, the lesser planets stood amazed, astonished mortals wondering gazed, looking on fearfully. That star shines brightly to this day on thy calm breast, America. The Tempest God by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Hark, 'tis the wheels of his wide rolling car, which traverse the heavens and come from afar. Sublime and majestic the dark cloud he rides, the wing of the whirlwind he fearlessly strides. The glance of his eye is the lightning's broad flame, and the caverns re-echo his terrible name. In the folds of his pinions the wild whirlwinds sleep, at his bidding they rush o'er the foam of the deep. He speaks, and in whispers they murmur to rest, and calmly they sink on the folds of his breast. His seat is the mountain-top's loftiest height. He reigns there in darkness, the king of the night. The Wee Flower of the Heather by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Thou pretty wee flower, humble thing, thou brightest jewel of the heath, which waves at Sapphire's lightest wing and trembles at the softest breath. Thou lovely bud of Scotia's land, thou pretty, fragrant, burny gem, by whispering breezes thou art fent, and greenest leaves entwine thy stem. No raging tempest beats thee down, or finds thee in thy safe retreat. By no rough wintry winds thou art blown, safe seated at the dark rock's feet. The White Maid of a Rock by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Loud gainst the rocks the wild spray is dashing, its snowy white foam o'er the waves rudely splashing. The wood echo round to the bittern's shrill scream, as he dips his black wing in the wave of a stream. Now mournful and sad the low murmuring breeze sighs lonely and dismal through hollow oak trees. The owl loudly hoots, while his lonely abode serves to shelter the snake and the poisonous toad. Low the black thundercloud is spread over the skies, and the swift-winged lightning at intervals flies. The streamlet looks dark, and the spray wilder breaks, and the elder leaf dank with its silver drop shakes. This dell and these rocks, this lone elder and stream, with the dewdrops which dance in the moon's silver beam, are sacred to beings ethereal and light, who hold their dark orgies alone and at night. Wild and more wild dashed the waves of a stream. The White Maid of a Rock gave a shrill, piercing scream. Down headlong she plunged 'neath a dark rolling wave, and, rising, thus chanted a dirge to the brave. The raven croaks loud from a nest in the rock, the night owl's shrill hooting resounds from the oak. Behold the retreat, the brave Avenel is laid, uncoffined, except by his own Scottish plate. Long since has my girdle diminished to naught, and the great house of Avenel low has been brought. The star now burns dimly which once brightly shone, and proud Evelyn's glory for ever has flown. As I sailed in my white garments caught in the brake, 'neath the oak, whose huge branches extend o'er the lake, woe to thee, maid of the rock! Cried the night raven who builds in the oak. Woe to thee, guardian spirit of Avenel! Where the holly bush, streamlet, and dell, no longer thou sittest to watch and to weep near the abbey's lone walls and its turrets so steep. Woe to thee, maid of the rock! Cried the night raven who builds in the oak. Then farewell, great Avelil, thy proud race is run, the girdle has vanished, my task is now done. Then her long flowing tresses around her she drew, and her form 'neath a wave of the dark streamlet threw. The wide world is drear, by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Oh, say not the wide world is lonely and dreary, oh, say not that life is a wilderness waste. There's ever some comfort in store for the weary, and there's ever some hope for the sorrowful breast. There are often sweet dreams which will steal o'er the soul, beguiling the mourner to smile through a tear. Then, when waking, the dewdrops of memory may fall, and blot out forever the wide world is drear. There's hope for the lost, for the lone one's relief, which will beam o'er his pathway of danger and fear. There is pleasure's wild throb, and the calm joy of grief, and then say not the wide world is lonely and drear. There are fears that are anxious, yet sweet to the breast, some feelings which language ne'er told to the ear, which return to the heart, and their lingering rest, soft whispering, this world is not lonely and drear. 'Tis true that the dreams of the evening will fade, when reason's broad sunbeam shines calmly and clear. Still fancy, sweet fancy, will smile o'er the shade, and say that the world is not lonely and drear. Or when mourn not that life is a wilderness waste, that each hope is elusive, each prospect is drear, but remember that man, undeserving, is blessed, and rewarded with smiles for the fall of a tear. The Yellow Fever, by Lucretia Maria Davidson. The sky is pure, the clouds are light, the moonbeams glitter cold and bright. Our white landscape breathes no sigh, the sea reflects the star-gemmed sky, and every beam of heaven's broad brow glows brightly on the world below. But the wing of death is spread, I hear the midnight murmurous tread. I hear the plague that walks at night, I mark its pestilential blith. I feel its hot and withering breath, it is the messenger of death. And can a scene so pure and fair slumber beneath the baneful air? And can the stealing form of death here wither with its blighting breath? Yes, and the slumberer feels its power at midnight's dark and silent hour. He feels the wildfire through his brain, he wakes, his frame's racked with pain, his eye half closed, his lip is dark, the sword of death hath done its work. That sallow cheek, that fevered lip, that eye which burns but cannot sleep, that black parched tongue, that raging brain, all mark the monarch's baleful reign. Or for one pure, one balmy breath to cool the sufferer's brow in death, or for one wandering breeze of heaven, or that one moment's rest were given. 'Tis past and hushed the victim's prayer, the spirit was, but is not there. To a departed friend, by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Farewell, and may some angel guide, some viewless spirit hover o'er thee, who, let or weal or woe betide, will still unchanging move before thee. A halo light shall burn at night, when sorrow's wave rolls drearily, and o'er thy way a cloud by day shall cast its shadow charily. The bark of pleasure our life's smooth sea shall gallantly glide along. Prayers and blessings thy breezes shall be, and hope be thy parting song. Go then, I have given the Spirit's charge to watch o'er thee now and forever, to smooth life's waters, and guide thy barge, where tempest shall toss it never. To a lady recovering from sickness, by Lucretia Maria Davidson. There is a charm in the pallid cheek, a charm which the tongue can never speak, and the hand of sickness has withered awhile the rose which had bloomed in the rays of a smile. There is a charm in the heavy eye when the tear of sorrow is passing by, like a summer shower o'er yon walls of blue, or the violet trembling 'neath drops of dew. It spreads around a shade as light as daylight blending with the night, or 'tis like the tints of an evening sky, and soft as the breathing of sorrow's sigh. To a Star, by Lucretia Maria Davidson. The brightly glittering star of even, thou gem upon the brow of heaven. Oh, were thy fluttering spirit free, how quick 'twould spread its wings to thee! How calmly, brightly dost thou shine, like the pure lamp in virtue's shrine! Sure the fair world, which thou mayst boast, was never ransomed, never lost. There, beings pure as heaven's own air, their hopes, their joys together share. With hovering angels touch a string, and service spread the sheltering wing. There cloudless days and brilliant nights, illumed by heaven's refulgent lights. Where seasons, years unnoticed roll, and unregretted by the soul. Thou little sparkling star of even, thou gem upon an azure heaven, how swiftly will I soar to thee, and this imprisoned soul is free. To Margaret's Eye, by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Oh, I have seen the blush of morn, and I have seen the evening sky, but I they faded when I gazed on the bright heaven of Margaret's Eye. I've seen the Queen of Evening ride, majestic mid the clouds on high, but e'en Diana in her pride was dim near Margaret's brilliant eye. I've seen the azure vault of heaven, I've seen the star-bespangled sky, but oh, I would the whole have given for one sweet glance from Margaret's eye. I've seen the dew upon the rose, it trembled 'neath a sapphire sigh, but oh, the tear which nature shed was dim near that in Margaret's eye. To my dear mother in sickness, by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Hang not thy harp upon thy willow, mourn not the brighter, happier day, but touch the chord, and life's white billow will, shrinking, foam with shame away. Then strike the chord and raise the strain, which brightens the dark clouded brow. O beam one sunshine smile again, and forgive thy sadness now. Though darkness gloom and doubts around thee, thy bark, though frail, shall safely ride. The storm and whirlwind may rage round thee, but thou wilt all their wrath abide. Hang not thy harp upon the willow, which weeps o'er every passing wave, for life is but a restless pillow, there's calm and peace beyond the grave. To my Friend and Patron, by Lucretia Maria Davidson. And can my simple harp be strung to higher theme, to nobler end, and that of gratitude to thee my father and my friend? I may not, cannot, will not say all that a grateful heart would breathe, that I may frame a simple lay, no slender bliss the blushing wreath. Yes, I will touch the string to thee, no fear its wildness will offend, for well I know that thou wilt be, what thou hast ever been, a friend. There are whose cold and idle gaze would freeze the current where it flows, but gratitude shall guard the fount, and faith shall light it as it flows. Then tell me, may I dare to twine, and on my simple harbour bend, this little offering for thee, my father and my friend? To my mother, by Lucretia Maria Davidson. O thou, whose care sustained my infant years, and taught my prattling lip each note of love, whose soothing voice breathed comfort to my fears, and round my brow hope's brightest garland wove. To thee my lay is due, the simple song which nature gave me at life's opening day. To thee these rude, these untaught strains belong, whose heart indulgent will not spurn my lay. O say, amid this wilderness of life, what bosom would have throbbed like wine for me? What would have smiled responsive, who in grief would have felt, and, feeling, grieved like thee? Who would have guarded with a falcon eye each trembling footstep or each sport of fear? Who would have marked my bosom bounding high, and clasped me to her heart with love's bright tear? Who would have hung around my sleepless couch, and fanned with anxious hand my burning brow? Who would have fondly pressed my fevered lip in all the agony of love and woe? None but a mother, none but one like thee, whose bloom has faded in the midnight watch, whose eye for me has lost its witchery, whose form has failed disease's mildew touch. Yes, thou hast lighted me to health and life by the bright lustre of thy youthful bloom. Yes, thou hast wept so oft o'er every grief, that woe hath traced thy brow with marks of gloom. O then, to thee this rude and simple song, which breathes of thankfulness and love for thee. To thee, my mother, shall this lay belong, whose life is spent in toil and care for me. To my sister, by Lucretia Maria Davidson. When evening spreads her shades around, and darkness fills your arc of heaven, when not a murmur, not a sound, to fancy sport of ears given, when the broad orb of heaven is bright, and looks around with golden eye, when nature, softened by her light, seems calmly, solemnly to lie, then, when our thoughts are raised above this world, and all this world can give, O sister, sing the song I love, and tears of gratitude receive. The song which thrills my bosom's core, and hovering trembles half afraid. O sister, sing the song once more, which ne'er for mortal ear was made. 'Twere almost sacrilege to sing those notes amid the glare of day, notes borne by angels purest wing, and wafted by their breath away. When sleeping in my grass-grown bed, shouldst thou still linger here above, wilt thou not kneel beside my head, and, sister, sing the song I love? To Science, by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Let others and false pleasures court be found, but may I ne'er be whirled the giddy ground. Let me ascend with genius' rapid flights, till the fair hill of science meets my side. Blessed with a pilot whom my feet will guide, direct my way whene'er I step aside. May one bright ray of science on me shine, and be the gift of learning ever mine. To the memory of Henry Kirke White, by Lucretia Maria Davidson. In yon lone valley where the cypress spreads its gloomy, dark, impenetrable shades, the morning nine, our white sun timely grave, murmur their sighs, like Neptune's troubled wave. There sits Consumption, sickly, pale and thin, her joy evinces by a ghastly grin. There his deserted garlands withering lie, like him they drop, like him untimely die. To the Vermont Cadets, by Lucretia Maria Davidson. Pass on, for the bright talk of glorious beaming, go, wreath round your brows the green laurels of fame. Around you a halloo is brilliantly streaming, and history lingers to write down each name. Yes, ye are the pillars of liberty's throne, when around you the banner of glory shall wave. America proudly shall claim you her own, and freedom and honor shall pause o'er each grave. A watchfire of glory, a beacon of light, shall guide you to honor, shall point you to fame. The heart that shrinks back, be it buried in night, and withered with dim tears of sorrow and shame. No death should await you, 'twere glorious to die with the glow of pure honor still warm on the brow, with the light sparkling brightly around the dim eye, like the smile of a spirit still lingering below. Pass on, and when war in its strength shall rise, rush on to the conflict and conquer or die. Let the clash of your arms proudly roll to the skies. Be blessed if victorious, and cursed if you fly. Twilight, by Lucretia Maria Davidson. How sweet the hour when daylight blends with the pensive shadows on evening's breast, and dear to the heart is the pleasure it lends. 'Tis like the departure of saints to the rest. Oh, 'tis sweet, Saranac, on thy love banks to stray, to watch the last daybeam dance light on thy wave, to mark the white skiff as it skims o'er the bay, or heedlessly bounds o'er the warrior's grave. Oh, 'tis sweet to a heart unentangled and light, when with hope's brilliant prospects the fancy's blessed, to pause mid its daydream so witchingly bright, and mark the last sunbeams while sinking to rest. Woman's Love, by Lucretia Maria Davidson. They told me of her history. Her love was a neglected flame, which had consumed the ways wherein it kindled. Oh, how fraught with bitterness is unrequited love! To know that we have cast life's hope away on a vain shadow. Hers was a gentle passion, quiet, deep, as woman's love should be, all tenderness and silence, only known by the soft meaning of a downcast eye, which almost fears to look its timid thoughts. A sigh, scarce heard, a blush, scarce visible, alone may give it utterance. Love is a beautiful feeling in a woman's heart, when felt as only woman love can feel. Pure as the snowfall when its latest shower sinks on spring flowers, deep as a cave-locked fountain, and changeless as the cypress's green leaves, and like them sad. She nourished fond hopes and sweet anxieties, and fed a passion unconfessed, till he she loved was wedded to another. Then she grew moody and melancholy. One only had power to soothe her in her wanderings, her gentle sister. But that sister died, and the unhappy girl was left alone, a maniac. She would wander far, and shunned her own accustomed dwelling, and her haunt was that dead sister's grave, and that to her was as a home.